should I wait for you to start the okay. Okay, yeah. I kind of just want to start by just giving a bit of a self-introduction as to who I am. And throughout this presentation, if any of you have like, I guess any just quick questions, feel free to like interject, I suppose, if you have like just any brief questions. But basically, I guess I should probably just start by giving kind of like a bit of a self-introduction about myself. So my name is Jiankun, and then I was a member of Youth for Good from 2019 to 2022. And then I went to Amador Valley High School, for any of you who happen to be going there right now. And actually, I graduated from my sophomore year, so I'll be a college junior this fall. And I currently study physics at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, or UIUC. Uh, So kind of just a brief overview regarding kind of like what my or what I did as a part of Youth for Good. So for the most part, I was an English tutor for Chinese students. And then I've also participated in various events like gardening at the Leaf Center, as well as serving food at like the homeless shelter. And then also another thing that I kind of participated in during the summer of 2022 was that I helped organize. There was an online summer camp for elementary school students for during the COVID. So I also helped organize classes during that time. Um, so kind of I guess probably what much of this what I'm or I guess what I just one of the main things that I kind of wanted to talk about was just like how this has kind of affected me or like how this has helped with some of my current endeavors. So currently, as of now, um, I or at the moment, I'm looking to apply to like, for example, physics grad school. So I'm currently involved in um, projects like physics research. And then obviously, when it comes to doing volunteer work for Youth for Good versus endeavors such as like more technical skills, like doing physics research, uh, I would say that one of the main things that I gained from volunteering Youth for Good was just like a useful, like a useful mindset for, as well as some soft skills, which I feel have been very helpful for me. Specifically, these are involved like uh, being very, uh, being very aware about what are current like weaknesses and areas of improvements in various projects that I may be working on, and being able to like effectively communicate and discuss ideas with others. So I guess that's kind of one of the main things that I gained from my volunteer experience. Um, and then also, once again, just feel free to interject if you happen to have any questions. Um, and then I guess for the most part, in terms of like kind of college life in general, which I guess I should also probably touch upon a bit. I guess one of the main things I learned when entering into college is just that there's definitely a lot of freedom that you get, especially with your time. And one of the main skills that I had to learn during that process was just like effective time management. And so I feel like that's probably something because like you obviously have like class schedules, but it's obvious, but it's a lot less rigid. So you have a lot more flexibility. But the downside of that is just that you have to be um you have to be very willing. You have to be able to like very effectively budget your time. So that's kind of like something that I've had to learn. And also another big thing is just that at least for a lot of activities, um, I would say it's also very important to approach various activities with a plan in mind, especially with college life. Especially there are just a lot of different activities that you can do and things just around many campuses. And so something that I've also definitely had to learn is just that how to like be aware of like what I really want to do with my time. Like, do I really want to be doing this particular activity or do I want to be doing something else? So that's kind of another one of some of the main hurdles I've had to go over when kind of like transitioning into college life. Moreover, I guess in terms of like actual things that you have to be ready for, I wouldn't actually it's very like it's very dependent on individuals. Um and so I think in that regard, it's more of like a personal thing. It's like being wary of what you want and what you and like kind of like what activities you want to participate in. Um and I guess kind of like the last thing I had kind of wanted to go over is just like general advice and like just like how to approach college life and then also like going kind of beyond that. And then I guess the main things that I've kind of like also had to like main general like life lessons I've had to learn is that in many cases you just have to be like be willing to be ambitious. And this is especially the case um during my time when I've especially with internship and job applications, especially since I've known people who have you like who have applied to like 80, 90, over 100, like just submitted that many applications only to get like a handful of responses. And so I guess in general for me, one of the main things I learned is like with a lot of these like opportunities, you have to be there to like you have to be ready to like take the chance, take the leap, basically be willing to put yourself out there. And then also the other big thing that I've kind of learned is just like basically just knowing when to not take others' advice. And then basically what I mean by that is just that in many cases, you have to know yourself well enough to know when other people's advice are and are not applicable. Basically, even when, in most cases, even when other people they give you advice with good intentions, in many cases, um, they may or may not be applicable to your own situation. So just one of the main things I kind of encountered when in college is just that like when I try to ask other people for advice, whether it's on classes, clubs, research, a lot of the times, many people they just give very different advice based on their own personal experiences. So just a really big thing that I've had to learn is just that I had to know or like I had to be familiar enough with my own personal situation to basically effectively identify when other people's advice are like good fits for my personal situation. Um, I kind of went through all of that relatively quickly, but I was wondering if any of you, if any of you have like any questions, feel free to.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to just unmute and you can ask Jiankun. Or you can also type your question in the chat. So I guess what do you think what is one suggestion you would give to our current Youth for Good members, especially we have a lot of graduating seniors regarding what they should do to prepare for the transition to college life?
I think for the most part, I would say the biggest thing when transitioning to college life, for me personally, it was just like time management because like just the schedules, like you do have a class schedule, but a lot of the times, with a lot of the situations, it's a lot less rigid. It's like you have a lecture time, but it's like you also no one cares if you don't go. So it's like it's like you really have to like push yourself if you want to like um if you want to like keep like a very like consistent schedule because it's very easy to kind of just like be lazy in many ways. It's very easy to just like um it's very easy to just be lazy and just like not do things that have to be done. So for me personally, like just learning how to like manage my time is probably the most important thing. Besides that, a lot of the other aspects I would say are very much just like up to personal preference. It's like what you want to spend with your time. Do you want to, how much time you want to spend studying versus like partying or going out with friends? Much of that I would say it's like depends on personal preference, and you would just mainly have to like just find your own way depending on what you really want. But the main thing I would say is like you want to budget your time. That's probably the biggest advice.
Okay, yeah, and we have a question in the chat from Suli. So, it says, is there any skill that you wish to learn prior to college?
Prior to college, I would actually say in some ways it would be like note taking because a lot of the times um in like high school the way I took notes in many ways it wasn't like very effective and kind of just because of that I a lot I feel like in many of my classes I had to spend more time than I probably should have. Like if I had been like if I had been able to take like better notes, I wouldn't have had to spend as much time as I did, just like restudying the same material that was like taught in lecture. So I feel like that's an important skill, just like being able to not only take notes that you can like refer back to, but being able to like effectively summarize what's being said during lectures in a way that like you can actually basically like learn while like the note take so basically what I'm trying to say is that I wish I were able to like take notes but also like take notes in a way such that I can actually that the note taking process is helpful is helpful for me to learn, if that makes any sense.
Okay, yeah. And
Jiankun, in terms of note taking, have you developed a system that works for you, or you still like refining it?
For me, I would say, oh yeah, I probably should have mentioned this also. For me personally, like the note-taking process, is just like that works best for me. Is just like I would have to like kind of try to go over lecture materials kind of before the lecture and just like try to read over it. That way, it's like when I'm in lectures, I'm not hearing things for the very first time. That way, it's like I can basically like take notes more effectively, but also kind of just take notes more effectively and also more quickly.
Thank you.
yeah, so if no one else have any more questions, thank you so much, Jiankun, for coming back and sharing so much helpful experience for our current members. Yeah, and if anyone has any further questions, maybe you could like drop in the chat later on. And now we're going to move on to our general updates.
Thank you so much, Jiankun,
So
for
much to
coming back.
Yeah, no problem.